Hello again, everybody. I hope you're well. I'm here to read you another chapter from Molly Moon's incredible book of hypnotism. My name is Georgia, and today for you to look at is this, which is a beautiful African carving of crocodiles. Maybe they're alligators. I don't really know the difference. There's three of them, 1, 2, 3, and since there's Rocky, Molly and Petula in New York, I thought I'd put them up. I could have put them up because I could have said, Notman's a real alligator. He goes around snapping up whatever he wants for himself. But I decided that alligators or crocodiles get a bit of a bad image, and so I'm going to look at the sort of friendlier side of alligators or crocodiles, which is them being friends. And since there's 3 friends in this chapter, one of them, 2 of them actually now tied up, and we really want to see them back together again. I thought I'd put them up. So here we go. Molly knew Petula hated chocolate biscuits, and from the way Notman had boasted about how he'd been feeding Petula, Molly just knew he hadn't been. She trusted him about as far as an ant can jump. She knew she had to follow him. So when Notman had driven the brown lorry to the end of 52nd Street and was turning the corner, Molly stepped out of the warehouse door and ran as fast as she had ever run in her life onto the main street to hail a taxi. Notman's lorry was almost out of sight when she climbed into a yellow cab, but luckily the driver was nifty and soon they were tailing him. Molly felt like a spy. If the situation had been less critical, she would have enjoyed this. Instead, her hands were so sweaty they were practically dripping. And by the time her cab arrived at the Brooklyn industrial estate, her mood was very grave. She watched carefully as, in the distance, Notman stopped by a warehouse. Once her cab had gone, Molly stepped behind a tree and spied on Notman as he drove inside. "Got you," she said under her breath. The muffled thud from upstairs had sent Notman into a panic. He had a sudden vision of a squad of crime-busting police closing in for an ambush. He didn't know the intruder was only Molly, who had managed to scramble up a tree, clamber through a half-open skylight on the roof, and drop quietly into an upper room. Frantically, he threw the bags of gems, his checklist file, the hypnotism book, and the anti-hypnotism device into the back of the truck, and he slammed it shut. Shoving his passport into his pocket, he heaved himself into the cab and hit the ignition. Molly heard an engine start and realised in a panic that Notman was leaving. She rushed down the stairs, but already the vehicle was changing gear. Notman put his foot on the accelerator. By the time Molly reached the pavement outside, it was too late. With a screech and spewing exhaust, the truck sped away. Molly dashed out onto the street and chased, but the diesel fumes made her cough and the lorry was too fast. She was left standing in the empty road, surrounded by old, deserted warehouses and trees. She'd really done it now. Rocky must still be in the truck, and Notman would find him. And what about Petula? Notman would never, ever ring Molly now. Molly moaned. She felt sick to the core. As she worried about Petula and Rocky, she realised that the only safe way out of this now was for her to tell the police everything. She'd have to, otherwise Rocky would be in real danger. As for Petula, there was still a faint hope that she was inside this building. Molly sprinted back. Once inside, she found a door and heard scraping noises and muffled cries coming from behind it. Molly burst into Petula's and Rocky's prison. Petula leapt at Molly and Molly hugged her as she pulled a gag off Rocky's mouth. Rocky started talking as soon as he could. "Molly, I'm really sorry, but he saw me and he put all his gear on again and he grabbed me and..." Rocky was shaking and breathing asthmatically. "Rock, I'm so sorry. This is my fault," said Molly, undoing the ropes around Rocky's wrist and hugging Petula at the same time. "I'm so glad you two are okay. I thought I lost you both. I really did." She reached in her pocket for a small tin of emergency dog food that she'd been carrying for a few days now, and peeling back its lid, tipped the chunks of meat out onto the floor. Petula gobbled it up frantically. Then Molly poured some mineral water into her cupped hand. "I can't believe it. I don't think he even fed Petula once or gave her a drink at all," she said disgustedly. "Poor Petula." When Petula had finished drinking, Molly picked her up and held her very close. It was wonderful to feel her warm in her arms once more. "I'm sorry, Petula," she said. "I won't ever let that happen again." And Petula nuzzled into Molly's anorak to feel as safe as she possibly could. Then both the children stroked her and thought about Notman. "So, he's driving away as far as he can now," said Rocky. "Yeah," said Molly, "and feeling nervous, I bet." She and Rocky grew silent for a moment and looked out of the door, imagining Notman on the highway. Then, curiously, they both began to smile. Said Rocky. "No doubt he'll have to stop at a petrol station to fill up on fuel. He'll buy himself a heaven bar." "And maybe a can of Q?" suggested Molly. "Then he'll get in the lorry and he'll drive on." "And on and on and on," echoed Molly. "And then?" asked Rocky. "Then he'll get tired." "And then?" "And then he'll start to feel he's dropping off, and he won't like that." "No, because he won't want to stop driving, will he? Because he wants to get right out of New York State. So then, to keep himself awake, I suppose he'll turn on the radio," imagined Molly. "Let's hope he does." Notman drove away from the Nome warehouse fast. Adrenaline pumped through his veins as the lorry hurtled through the suburbs of Brooklyn. Every police car he saw made his rash itch, even though he told himself he knew that his lorry had no reason to look suspicious. The police would think that all lorries already off the island of Manhattan were as good as gold, not full of gold. But still, Notman was a bundle of nerves. He drove as fast as he could away from New York, sticking to the smaller roads, looking in his rear-view mirror constantly, chain-smoking constantly, and sweating like a hot cheese. After 2 hours of torment, Notman began to feel confident that he wasn't being tagged. He loosened his shirt and turned on to the interstate highway. He drove on and on for hours, until he had driven so far that his fuel tank dial was pointing to empty. He pulled up at a gas station, filled up, and bought himself 3 heaven bars and 4 cans of Cube. Then he tramped back to his lorry and he set off again. By 9 o'clock, Notman was starting to feel tired. This worried him. He didn't want to fall asleep at the wheel and crash. He imagined the lorry cracked open on the highway like a very expensive Easter egg. All the gems and jewellery spewed over the road. But he didn't want to stop to rest. He must keep driving. He'd pull up somewhere soon and drink a pint of coffee. That would keep him awake. In the meantime, He decided to turn on the news. "Drive time," sang a jingle on the radio. "Yeah," said a chirpy presenter. "We'll be keeping all you drivers across the east coast of America wide awake now. You don't need to worry about that, so relax while you drive. We're the station that gives you motion, and oh boy, have we got entertainment for you. We've got hours and hours of great music. In a second, we'll bring you the news, but first, a short break." Notman felt a lot better. This was just the sort of station he needed, and he was very excited about hearing the news, because his robbery would be reported. As the radio played adverts, he changed up a gear. "I'm in heaven, heaven's in me, and you will get to heaven eventually." Then a voice sang out, "Hey, you want to have a taste of heaven? Pick up a heaven bar." Notman took another bite of his heaven bar, and he felt very happy. He listened to a Cube advert. "Cube if you're cute, Cube if you're rude. Everyone loves you now 'cause you're so cute. I'm so popular, I've been cubed. Oh, you're so cute. Can I sip your cube? Hey, the world really looks better with a can of Cube in my hand. Cube, it'll quench more than your thirst." Notman opened his can of Cube, took a sip, and smiled. He was going to be so popular now. He'd never been popular in his life, and the idea of it made him tingle with pleasure. The presenter came back. "So, now, the news. The main story of the day is that Shoring's Bank in Manhattan was robbed today." Notman turned the volume up. "The operation was conducted earlier by a gang of armed robbers. They made off with precious stones and jewelry to the value of over $100 million. Notman guffawed. It was more than that. "Experts are trying to ascertain how the robbers managed to secure the building and turn off the alarms, since Shoring's Bank has one of the world's finest and most sophisticated alarm systems. It is believed that the gang are still somewhere on the island of Manhattan. The robbery was reported immediately after the thieves left. The police were able to set up roadblocks on all the bridges leaving Manhattan within 5 minutes. Police have also been checking boats docked around the island. All water traffic has been stopped. A bank worker who was forced to go with the gang has given accounts of how he was made to unload the stolen goods from a bank truck into different cars, which were driven away. It is believed that the criminals have hidden the stolen property all over the city of Manhattan. The police have asked people to be on the lookout and also to be careful, as the gang are likely to be dangerous. The police would be very interested in any information that might lead them to the thieves." This was the best news that Notman had ever heard. He loved this newsreader for bringing it to him. "Thank you for listening," said the newsreader. "Thank you," said Notman. "Great news, isn't it?" said the newsreader. "Yeah," said Notman. He really liked this newsreader, and especially his voice. It was perfectly pitched and very soothing. "You must be feeling fantastic," said the newsreader. "I am," laughed Notman. "You're feeling fantastic, the best you've felt in years." I am, agreed Notman. "All that effort was worth it. You deserve this, don't you?" Notman nodded. How right the voice was. And now you need your well-deserved rest. Take a nice deep breath and breathe out slowly. Notman breathed deeply in and out and felt much better, much, much better. Breathe slowly in and out, and as I count down, you will feel more and more relaxed. Keep driving as I count. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now, Mr. Notman, you are completely and utterly under my power. Understood? Understood, said Notman stupidly. He felt wonderful. He'd fallen into Rocky and Molly's trap, and he felt fabulous. Now, said Rocky, I want you to turn this lorry round and drive back to New York, back to the place you left this afternoon, okay? Fine, smirked Notman. Fine, just fine. As Notman drove, the tape in the radio cassette reeled to its end. The tape in the radio cassette player reeled to its end. The rest of it was blank. Molly and Rocky had only had time on Sunday night to record a short, fake radio show. So Notman drove on grinning in silence. Molly and Rocky had relied on two things to achieve their ends. The first thing was a fact that many adults underestimate the intelligence of children. The second thing was a design point, which is that if radio cassette players have tapes in them, when the machine is turned on, the tape automatically plays first. There you go. Chapter 29. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a really lovely rest of your day. Do something fun today or tonight. Maybe you're going to have a midnight feast. I don't know. But whatever you're up to, have a good time. And if you are going to be doing any hypnotizing, make sure you don't make people do anything dangerous, and happy hypnotizing. Bye.